I thought this would be a good topic to follow up my last video with. And also just for me to take an opportunity to say that I'm not, nor am I trying to be, a deconstruction account. I actually really personally do not like apologetics or religious debate. I don't actually like debate of any kind. I'm not a debater. But anyways, I naturally have a lot to say about religion and deconstruction because it was just such a huge part of my life for over 30 years. But now that my identity doesn't revolve around that anymore, of course, there's like so much more to me than that life. So my content naturally reflects that. So it's kind of like a smattering of, you know, everything. But with that said, let's dive into today's video, which will be on the top 3 responses I get from Christians about my deconstruction / leaving the faith. I do want to clear up that I know that you can deconstruct without leaving the faith, and a lot of people do that, but when I'm referring to my own deconstruction, I'm referring to the full process of like wanting to get to know my Bible more, wanting to understand this Trump situation, and digging into the faith really deeply, to the full departure for me. I loved watching videos like this when I was like secretly deconstructing. I feel like it can be helpful to think through like the responses that are inevitably going to come your way. I think like there was this fear I used to have about like the day that people would know that I'm not a Christian anymore. And so I don't know, I would like to think through what are people going to say when they find out? Because they will find out. You know what I'm saying? Like, even if you don't post about it publicly, like, they will find out, they will have an opinion, you know? So response number 1, if you walked away from the faith, you were never a true Christian. This is the no true Scotsman fallacy. It will come your way, and maybe has already if you've already been through this, but like when you grow up in the faith and then became an adult and then made that faith your own, like you become an adult and you like really own it, and then you had an entire life and identity that surrounded this one thing, and then you hear this, it's going to make you mad because you're just like, you can't put that person inside of your brain, your body, your experience, and be like, if you could just see the devotion. It's a whole thing, okay? They might follow up this claim with things like, but did you have the Holy Spirit? Did you this and that? Were you baptized? Like all these things, and it's like, yes, homie. And nothing left me. Like there wasn't a departure of this like thing from me when I left church. And then they'll say like, well, maybe you didn't ever really have the Holy Spirit. And it's just this whole thing. But like, I have actually had some profound and indescribable spiritual experiences within church settings, okay? And that's like a conversation for another time, or maybe not, I don't know. Completely sober, like just experiences that transcended my logical understanding of how things work, okay? It's one of the things that kept me hanging on for such a long time because I mistook the context that this experience happened for the reason that it did happen, versus understanding that people experience transcendental spiritual experiences all across the world in all kinds of different religions. The no true Scotsman fallacy is frustrating because, well, what is it that makes you a Christian, right? Like it's just this thing where the goalpost just keeps moving based on whoever you're talking to and their understanding of what it means to be a Christian. It's just a moving goalpost, and you can never satisfy the demands. Jesus didn't say anything about being a Christian because Jesus wasn't a Christian. This is just my personal beliefs now. Like, I don't think that this man wanted an entire religion to be built around him. I don't think that was his point or purpose, and I have the reasons why I believe that. Perhaps a conversation for another video. Anyways, according to my upbringing, it was like, believe this with all your heart, receive the Holy Spirit, act accordingly. I believed in all of it wholeheartedly. Like, I experienced all of it wholeheartedly. So saying that I was never a true Christian just like continues to move the goalpost to some other arbitrary understanding of how I did it wrong according to someone somewhere, okay? Anyway, at the end of the day, I deal with this by removing the need to defend myself. This faith system in and of itself teaches you to have like a defensive posture about your beliefs. And I kind of had that going into my deconstruction. And like once I finally left, like I felt like I needed to have like this like ready to go, like, this is why I no longer believe. And it has like 100 points, you know, but it's like, that's not a thing. Like out in the world of people who like have never been a part of this, like this need to like defend your belief or lack thereof is so intense, but like that's not like how I have experienced just the outside world surrounding Christianity. Like people don't even really ask. So, and I know I come from a very extreme like part of Christianity, and that's another thing is people like, this is maybe a little tangent we can go down within the same topic. Like they'll be like, oh, but you come from conservative Christian, like you come from red hat, you know, like Christianity, and that's true. But I've also been to like a ton of different denominations, like anyways, I made a pilgrimage to Bethel. Okay, that was me. I did that. That's a story for another time. It's embarrassing. Anyway, so this faith teaches you to have a defensive posture. And at the end of the day, like nothing I say about my experience is going to magically change their mind when they're inside of this faith system, if they're not ready to question it, or if they're not in a place where they want to question it at all. I have to see it for what it is and see what I'm up against from a place of like empathy and sympathy for when I was there too. Like whenever you're feeling frustrated by this, just ponder when you were stuck in it. And I don't know, I just feel like you can tell the difference between people who are open-hearted and want to have like an actual like productive conversation and are curious about where you are, versus people that are not going to be accepting no matter what you say. Like trust that you know the difference and just like preserve your energy in advance. Okay, response number 2. This is going to be somewhat specific, but I think you'll still be able to take some nuggets from it, because I just so happened to start posting about deconstruction and plant medicine at the same time. It was kind of an oh shit moment, because I had walked away from Christianity before I ever did I did like a big psilocybin experience. I started posting about this at the same time as my deconstruction because of the election this time around, and I kind of like panicked a little bit. I was like, oh my gosh, like I have to start posting, like what is gonna happen? Like, and there's just a lot of stigma and a lot of like, anyways, that's another video as well. But I started posting about these things at the same time, and so a very common response I got was, your plant medicine experience was counterfeit and led you astray. Satan disguises himself as an angel of light, basically like trying to say that we did mushrooms and then like walked away from the faith and the devil deceived us and now we like are demon possessed. It's a whole thing, okay? It's a whole thing. I know that where I come from, there's a huge stigma and tons of fear surrounding plant medicine, but people were coming out of the woodwork. Mind you, I was already like fully deconstructed before I ever did my plant medicine dose. Like this medicinal experience that came from just this like tiny little thing that grows in the earth, it was life-changing. Like I grew up with suicidal ideation and just like, there's just a lot of trauma. And I haven't like dealt with that since this experience, and there's so many other things. Like just I went into it intentionally for trauma, and it helped me massively. But it kind of feels like if the devil was real and is as horrible as everyone says he is, like blaming everything on Satan and like demonic forces, like if he was in charge of my mushroom trip, wouldn't he have like wanted me to, why would he have taken that away? Like what's the end game there? You know what I'm saying? Like he just had me experience like universal oneness and unconditional love and like transformational healing for what? Like it could totally be said that my mushroom trip solidified. If we want to demonize the mushrooms, we could say that like it maybe solidified where I was at, because I did experience just this, it was like insane. It was the craziest thing I've ever experienced. I have a whole video about it. What I experienced was far beyond religion or like these boxed in parameters for how we like see and define a higher power. And I kind of think that Jesus was amongst one of the first few teachers who kind of displayed some non-dualistic concepts. It's interesting to study this from the outside, like outside of the concept of the New Testament and the letters and the framework that was created around him afterwards. Like it's interesting to view him apart from that, and it's something that I've been interested in as someone who is deconstructed. But I also handle this by freeing myself from the need to defend myself. Like at the end of the day, like if you believe that the devil, I'm like in the devil's grips and that the devil somehow utilized this fungus to like take over my body and heal me, and then also I'm now worshiping him somehow, there's probably nothing I can do to help that. So like I just kind of free myself from that. At the beginning, I really wanted to like respond to everything and like have like an in-depth conversation with everyone, because I don't like to be misunderstood. I've said it before and I'll say it again, like I'm probably the worst person to be posting on the internet, because the internet is where nuance goes to die. And I don't like to be misunderstood, and I'm just like, I've had a lot of exposure therapy enough now that I'm just like, Just judge me. Just judge me, it's fine. Okay, response number 3. This is just gonna be God's way of bringing more glory to himself, but bringing you back. So very much like the coming back to your first true love coded. It's never too late, you know, he wants you back, he's waiting for you, like all of these, okay. This is truly like a painful and devastating thing for some people to come to grips with who like know us and love us. And we actually do hate that there's this like massive thing that feels so incredibly life or death on an eternal level regarding people that like really do love and care about me and us and or you in your situation. Like I get it. It causes like this inevitable divide in ways that I wish it didn't. Like I don't like that they have to carry that, and I don't think they have to, but I can recognize like it can be really painful for them, while also recognizing that it was painful for us to be exiled by so very many people on the basis of our departure like from the faith. So to me, it really begs questioning like where this response pattern comes from and what the root of it is. Like I have clarity to know that these reactions that I'm getting are reflections that mirror back to the programming from within the belief system. Like I can see that now from the outside of it, but so much is things that we were taught about this God and this faith and what happens when you walk away from it. Like it's all, that's what you're up against. It's not just like a normal conversation about like preferences. Like this is a whole framework and a whole worldview. In my opinion, like it's the very same force of fear that religious leaders in Jesus's time were enforcing and upholding, like on a lot of levels. It is control disguised as doctrine, and it's fear disguised as righteousness. Like this race for righteousness out of fear of like what's gonna happen if I'm not. Anyway, they see me as wayward, as this like backslidden apostate, okay? But I see their religion as a man-made understanding of one people group's understanding of a higher power at a certain time in a certain part of the world who was trying to make sense of why we're here and like the origins of the earth and humanity, you know? To me, like it's as simple as that. And all of the podcasts and books and videos I've watched and things I've listened to, they all continue to point me back to this concept. And I'm saying that from a place of clarity, not from a place of still questioning. Like if God is real, it just makes sense that whatever would transcend religion entirely, because if there's a whole globe of people who without contact with each other for a very, very, very long time, of course we're all gonna have different understandings of spirituality and higher power and how we came to be and a framework for existence and why we're here and why bad things happen. Like it's just, that's happening all over the world. We just happen to be born into this one, and so therefore you think it's right. Anyway, how I deal with this one is just by, again, from a place of understanding, like, they're gonna do what they need to do to bring themselves comfort, whether that's putting us on, we're on so many prayer lists, actually praying for us, telling us they're praying for us, talking to us about it. And like, I just need to anticipate this behavior because they're operating from that space, even though I'm not anymore. So I have to just continually come to a place of acceptance about this, and that helps me to kind of engage with less frustration. Of course, the needs and the boundaries here vary depending on like the relationship and if it's causing harm or not, or if it's neutral, but you know, obviously nuance. Let me know if talking through things like this is helpful. I think overall the theme here is kind of like liberating yourself from the need to like defend your lack of belief as if you're like some sort of missionary for a lack of belief, you know, like you're just unconvinced of the God claims that they're making. There's no like burden of proof that like lies on you. You don't have to have like a dissertation prepared, nor do you owe it to anyone to explain your very personal spiritual beliefs or lack thereof. Like that's personal, and you don't owe it to anyone. Anyway, thanks for being here, and I'll see you next time.